Hi everyone, welcome to Brown Girls Happy Hour, where two brown girls make cocktails inspired by amazing women. And today we are super excited to make our cocktail slash mocktail, and we have amazing guests today from Cove Collective podcast. I'll wait for Daman to join, and then we can invite our guests over. Hi, Daman.
Hi, how are
How are
you?
you?
Good, super excited for our guest today.
Yeah, me too. I guess now Ashley and Liana, I think we're waiting for them to join and then we can start.
Hi.
Hi,
Hello.
Ashley. Hi,
Hi.
Liana. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, thanks. Would you like to? I think our listeners or viewers would like to know you a little bit more. So, both if you can give a little bit of your introductions.
Sure. My name's Leanna. I'm biracial, bisexual. I live in Toronto, and I'm an event planner currently working for a nonprofit.
And I'm Ashley. I am first generation Canadian, Jamaican background. I'm straight, living in Toronto, and I'm a graphic designer.
Oh, cool. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I'm very excited to make this drink with you guys.
Yeah,
So let's get right into it. Let's make the drink.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you need a glass with a lot of ice in it. And then the recipe calls for 4 ounces of pear juice. I think I am scared of my store bought juice. So I'm just going to do like 2 ounces of it, but feel free to add more. And then we have some ginger ale, like 1 ounce of ginger ale or 2 ounces of ginger ale, but I'm adding a little less. And then 2 ounces of sparkling water, which I'm not measuring. So I like sparkling water. So this is like a lemonade flavor. So if you don't have sparkling water, you can just use a plain lemonade. I like sparkling water, so I substituted there. And I decided to also make this a cocktail instead of a mocktail. So I'm doing like a shot of vodka in it.
Yeah, I think I'll add a little bit of gin, even though
Oh,
this is like the worst quality of gin that I could get. But
Yeah. I think it's just Ashley doing the mocktail. Ashley doesn't drink. I don't drink
Yeah.
liquor that much, that often, but sometimes.
Yeah, I'm a cheap date. I just drink water. I literally had a teacher tell me that once in college. So
that's
that's what
good to know for a lot of people out there.
I say.
All right,
Like, this
let's
is
try
really
it.
good.
Cheers.
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 Yes.
Hmm. I
Mm.
don't hate the pear
Okay.
juice. I was kind of really scared of trying pear juice because I've never had it before. I like it.
I love the pear flavor, actually. It's really good.
Yeah, I hate the gin flavor. My gin is worst quality. And since I put it at the end, so that's all I can taste right now. And so, yeah, let's talk a little bit about the both of you and your podcast. So tell us, how did you, what inspired you to bring about this podcast and how did you two meet?
Sure.
It
We have
was.
a mutual friend that Ashley and him have been best friends for a long time. They went to school together. His name is Stratus, and Stratus and I used to work together years ago, and we met mutually through him. But we started hanging out more. Just a few. We've known each other for about 10 years now, maybe 11 years. But we've started hanging out more in the last 3 years because. I don't remember how, but I figured out that Ashley really liked to read, and I was starting a book club, and so we just started hanging out and reading together. And then the Cove Collective stuff came from a conversation that Ashley and I had. We were having lunch one day, and Ashley was talking about how she really wanted to create a space for more BIPOC and Black women designers. And I had been looking to do something with events with women, and we kind of had this idea of like, why don't we just combine the two and create a space for all BIPOC women in different industries to get together and kind of hold space. And Corona hit, so we weren't able to do anything. And about, I don't know, 5-6 months into COVID, I messaged Ashley and was like, we should probably just start this anyways and make it a virtual thing. And she's the one who brought up the idea of starting a podcast, which terrified me at first because I don't like this. Well, now I'm okay with it, but I hated the sound of my voice.
Oh, we are
And
with
yeah.
you on that.
You know that too.
Yeah, it was so painful at first, but I'm super glad that we did it. And it kind of just turned into a virtual space for BIPOC women and femmes where we read books, chat about them, and talk about other racial issues on our podcast.
That's awesome. I love that you're creating this space for women.
Not reading enough books by BIPOC, female, and non-binary folk authors. Like we just never, like it just, I think I'd be maybe a handful in a year, but not enough. And so we thought, okay, well, if we're going to launch Cove and we both love to read, we might as well do a book club and then specifically each month pick a book by a BIPOC woman or non-binary person. So then that way we actually are making sure that we are reading different books from different people and different perspectives. Because I mean, I can't remember where I saw it, but it's something like 90, it was like somewhere like the 90 percentile of book authors are like white. And I think it was like a study
Yeah,
from
it was a very
2018.
recent survey. I saw that. And even though you see all these publishing houses telling people that we are promoting books by, BIPOC authors, when you see at those numbers, you're like, are you really though? Are you really giving them the space to get their books out?
Totally. I think some people just blatantly aren't. And I think some people in publishing maybe think they are, but then you see the numbers and it's kind of like the numbers don't lie. So you can't ignore the fact that I think it was something crazy. It was close to 100%. I want to say it was 97%, but it was something wild. It's like, okay, so how diverse is publishing if almost 100% of the authors are white? Like,
Yeah.
yes, that's different perspectives, but how many different perspectives can you have when almost 100% of them are white? That's just
Right.
ridiculous.
And
Yeah.
there are so many books where they're like white authors, but they're writing perspectives of BIPOC individuals. And I'm like, how did you think you could do that? Like, how could you even imagine? Like,
No, the
Yeah.
audacity of that.
Yeah.
The people who think, oh yeah, no, for sure, I can just Google and like not even research or interview people, just like, oh, I feel like I understand it and I have a good, like people are really, I don't know, people are really into
Arrogant.
themselves and
there are
yeah, arrogant. Yeah.
there are those out there for sure.
So, what are some of the books that you have covered in your podcast, and what is your favorite book that you covered in your podcast?
Oh God, don't ask me that.
Yeah. Yeah,
pick really good ones.
we've read 5 books so far. So the first one was Wandering in Strange Lands by Morgan Jerkins, and then Abandon Me by Melissa Febos. The Death of Vivek Oji by Akwaeke Emezi.
Oh, I love that book.
It was
So
so
good.
beautiful.
So
Hood
good.
Feminism by Mickey Kendall. And then the 5th one that we discussed with you, Marriage of a Thousand Lies by S.J. Sindhu. I really did love The Death of Vivek Oji. I think that was one of my tops, but my favorite for me so far probably is still Abandon Me by Melissa Febos, Indigenous woman, white Indigenous woman. I really like books that are kind of more conversational. I like reading things and even movies that kind of just feel like one big long conversation or like somebody's kind of just talking to you. It was a memoir. It felt almost like reading a series of poems, even though it wasn't poetry. It was just really beautifully written. And yeah, that's probably been my favorite so far.
I would have to say, first off, I would say that all 5, like we have lucked out in the books that we picked. They've all been really amazing and very beautiful in their own ways. But the first one we picked by Morgan Jerkins, it still sits in my head and takes up space and like real estate because it's nonfiction. She basically decides to go and travel throughout the states to learn about different cultures from different sides of her family, from her mom's side and her father's side. And I had never read a book like that. I learned about people that are erased from history completely, that you just don't learn about in history classes. Like they're just like they never existed. And it just like, I don't know. I also read her first book a couple years ago, and it was such a different take, like a different direction. So I think just the uniqueness of that book has stayed with me all this time.
Interesting. I'll pick it up. I haven't read it. So
Yeah, I think I am 2 out of 5 of your books, but I'm definitely interested in checking out all of them.
yeah.
Um,
Do you any of you want to write books as well at some point?
It's a weird dream of mine that I eventually see myself having a book. I don't know what it's going to be. But it's also something I keep talking myself out of. So maybe eventually. I think it would be short stories actually. Because I
Yeah.
don't think I could commit. I don't think I could commit to writing like a full. It would be fiction. I know it would be fiction, but I don't think I could commit to a full fiction novel. Like I think I would be able to talk myself out of it or just force myself to stop. So maybe if I just did like a couple of short stories, maybe. But it's like something like later, and like maybe the next 10 years, maybe I'll do, but
I
not like
think you and I
pressing
can
right
be best friends.
now.
Yeah, Daman wants to write a book too. So I was going to tell Daman, if you don't see self-help books written by South Asian authors, write it.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Good
I've been kind
idea.
of
I'm very preachy sometimes. I can do that.
I feel you. Yeah, I've been having thoughts of like maybe wanting to write a book. I'm I don't know. I'm not really a writer. I have this like, we all have limiting beliefs, and I have this like limited belief that I'm not smart enough, I'm not creative enough, like I can't do those things. But I found something this year called NaNoWriMo. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yeah.
National yeah, National Novel Writing Month or something like that. So I joined and I was like, I'm gonna try to write a book in a month, or like write the first copy of a book. And I went into it thinking, okay, I'm going to write a series of feminist like short stories and poems, because like that's what I would want to write, because that's majority of the things that I read. But I had a really difficult time doing it, and I ended up writing a different kind of book. I started writing a self-help book, actually, because that's one of my main kind of genres that I read often too. I did not make it to 50,000 words, but I wrote 20,000 words, which I was impressed by. Thank you, because I've never written before in my life. But I
I
haven't even
joined,
gone back to look at
I'll
it.
tell you, I've joined it twice. I have not gotten past 5,000 words, so I'm just amazed already.
Thank you. But I think a book is something that Ashley and I have talked about, maybe collaboratively doing one through Cove at some point too, but definitely books are on the horizon.
Interesting. Yeah,
Great.
we'll be waiting. Yeah.
So, since we are in a happy hour, we have to ask you what your favorite drinks are.
Well, since I'm the cheap date, it's water.
Oh, it
With
doesn't
no
have to be
ice.
alcoholic. It could just be like,
No, to be completely honest with you, okay, the one I'll give you two, but one is water. I don't know why I just love water so much. Like I 24/7 could drink it. If someone said like that is the thing you can drink, like, only one drink for the rest of your life, hands down, it'd be water. And like not even like carbonated water. I like flat water. So like I'm really like the basic. That's like my basic taste. The next one up would be tea. I love like a good peppermint tea or green tea. Like I alternate between either having one of those and having a craving for one. Right now, I'm on a peppermint tea craving. And then the other one, which was from my childhood, is that a family friend, when they learned that I didn't like pop because I didn't like carbonated drinks, they introduced me to like Nest tea, like iced tea. I could drink that like 24/7, but I have a really small bladder and I can't drink it often because I literally have to pee 2 minutes after drinking that. It just goes right through me. So those are my very boring favorite drinks.
For me, I would say my favorite cocktail is probably an espresso martini. I love espresso martinis, but the creamy ones with Baileys, so good.
Oh,
Especially like
wow.
yeah, especially after dinner. Like I'm thinking specifically when I'm out at a restaurant and I'm having dinner, like I will order an espresso martini.
Leanne, that combines two things I can't stand. I also can't stand coffee. So when you said that, I was like, whoa, I was like, I wonder if I'd like that. Cause I'd be actually really, really impressed if I like that. Cause it's like, ooh, alcohol, great. And coffee, great. Two of my least favorite drinks. That.
Yeah, it tastes kind of like a dessert almost. Like it's creamy and it doesn't really taste like
Okay.
alcohol. Yeah, it's good.
No, yeah, I like dessert. I take dessert every single day. There's a dessert option with chocolate in it. I'm like, yes, 100%.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I
Okay.
just want to thank you guys again for joining us. And it was so much fun talking about books. And, like, it's a great time to have 4 book nerds together. So, this was a lot of fun for me.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
thank you so much for
thanks.
having us.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah, it was really great talking to you, and the drink was really good too.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.